So when we first got here last night and you saw people here that you didn't know, what did you refer to this as?
Communal group?
Communal camping.
Communal camping.
I hereby bestow your trail name upon you,
Yes.
Flower Child.
I think that is a perfect trail name for me because I am a crusty old hippie.
Oh.
So,
Congratulations on getting your trail name, Flower Child.
why, thank you. I think it's the perfect name for me.
And we are here with my friend.
I'm Kiosk, and I'm a trail runner for New Jersey State. Also for the ATC.
So, Kiosk, what got you into the Appalachian Trail? How did you first hear about it and become interested in it?
So back in, say, 2017-ish, and I had gotten hurt back in 2015 when I used to run. So I needed a new hobby because I could no longer run anymore. So I could hear over time my mother-in-law and grandfather-in-law, I guess you could say, they were hiking portions of the Appalachian Trail, but I never really had an interest or even knew even where it existed. I knew nothing about it at all, actually. So, in 17, my husband's like, "You really need to find a hobby. Like this is going on a little too long." Finally, in 2018, I woke up in the middle of July one time and was just like, "Hey, I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail." And my husband looks at me and goes, "What? You won't even sleep in a tent. What makes you think you're going to be able to hike the Appalachian Trail? Do you even know what's involved in that?" I was like, "Not really." So that Sunday rolled around and we had dinner with his mom and his grandfather and the whole family. And they got all their gear out, showed everything to me. And I was like, "Oh, cool." Still had no idea what I was in for.
Mm.
I put a post on one of the Appalachian Trail Facebook pages. I think it was the Section Hiker page, that I was going to do like Port Clinton to Hamburg Reservoir, which is like 5.4 miles. And since I've never hiked a day in my life, I figured, well, that's quite a long distance. Little did I realize that it's really not. But I had put that post on there and I had received a private message from Lisa. So I had gotten a message from her and she asked if I would be willing to join her. She also lives in York, Pennsylvania. And she actually had an incident where someone had stalked her on the trail and she had gotten off and she wanted to finish Maryland up. So she asked if I'd be willing to switch up my hike to join her. And I said, "Sure, why not? Like, I know nothing about it, so maybe she could teach me a thing or two." So I had, after chit-chatting with her, she kind of gave me a list of things that I should have on top of what I was borrowing from my family, and went out and went to REI, and I spent about 4 hours in there. And I finally got a pair of boots and a jet boil and a couple other things I had picked up, little different meals and stuff like that, because I didn't even know that there was dehydrated meals. I literally was very naive to everything. We came back. I chatted more with her. I had also picked up the guidebook, the AT guidebook, and was looking through it. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty interesting. I still have no idea how to read this." And I drove down to York, parked at Lisa's house, and she also had an exchange teacher from France, if I remember correctly, that was staying with her, and she was also going to hike the trail. So we got in her vehicle, drove down. She had set up a shuttle with a friend, and we parked at Penmar, and we shuttled down to Dahlgren Campground and got dropped off there, which is near Boonesboro, Maryland. And then we started hiking. And little did I know that a 40-pound pack is not cool, because I made it maybe a quarter mile in and I was very top heavy because I had no idea how to pack one, let alone I carried 3 outfits plus sleeping clothes, food that I could feed probably a gigantic family with. And I ended up, we actually took my pack apart and repacked it even though I still had everything I had to carry, but at least I wasn't top heavy no more. But that's basically the journey of how it all started. And the next day we were going along, and I don't remember exactly the mileage for some reason, but it might be like a 12-mile day that we had to do. And about mile 7, 8, somewhere around there, my knee started acting up, which was an old injury from why I no longer run. But I got to the point where I couldn't even drive home, and she opened her home out to me to stay at overnight.
Wow.
Till the next morning. And I got up the next morning. She had a full breakfast and everything made, and it was so cool. And we just sat there and chit chatted. And after that, we've hiked a few. I've taken her up into the Whites and into southern Maine. We did together, which was her first adventure in very hard terrain. So it was cool. It was cool.
And now, how much of the AT have you completed?
Well, whatever the mileage is, because of course the miles change every year, I have 281 miles left. I can tell you that much.
Wow.
Which I plan on finishing right after the season of Ridgerunner, which ends in September 2nd.
And people may have already gotten the gist based on you talking about different towns, but where do you hail from?
Sorry. I'm from Nescopeck, Pennsylvania.
Nescopeck, Pennsylvania.
Yep, a little town.
All right.
But in the country.
Yep. So a Pennsylvanian.
Yep.
I love Pennsylvania. Roxylvania. So this is your first year as an AT. Is it AT Ridgerunner? Is that the title?
Yep.
Okay. So tell us what a typical day in the life of an AT Ridgerunner looks like.
So we work 5 days on, 2 days off. And our schedule, so for example, my days off are Tuesdays, Wednesdays. So after an 8-hour shift on Monday, I get to drive home to Pennsylvania, and I have my 2 days off at my home. But if I didn't have a home, like some of these folks, other Ridgerunners here, they stay at the Ridgerunner house, which New Jersey provides free of charge. We don't pay any utilities, no nothing. We also get a gas stipend from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference every month. So with that money, it allows me to drive home and see my family. But on a typical day, we would get up. We do stay at shelters or the backpacker campsite for a week, depending on where we're stationed. In the very beginning of the season, we got a schedule saying where we sleep every night. But we get to kind of choose in that area of where we want to do some minor trail maintenance, which is with like loppers or pruners. We're not allowed to use any battery or gas powered equipment. So anything manual labor we can do, and we go out and we trim the trail back some. If it's a big job, we let the trail maintainers know so that they can come out and do, everything with power, gas power and stuff like that. But otherwise, we will hike into our shelters that we're supposed to be at for the evening. We sweep them out. We sweep out the privies, which we do not have to maintain the privies because we have a privy guy.
What?
Yes.
Wow,
so
that's
we
sweet.
are one of the fortunate ones that do not have to go in and stir the privies or sift out all the so-called flushable wipes that do not flush, and plus there's nothing out here that flushes. But they do not decompose either. So we actually have little trash cans in the privies for if you use those, please dispose them into there. We also have hand sanitizer for everyone.
I saw that. So
you just have to supply your toilet paper.
Yeah, so we're at Wawayanda Shelter.
Yep.
And in the privy, that is a pleasant surprise. Number one, that there's a trash can in there. And number two, that there's hand sanitizer and that the bottle's not empty.
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
It was actually just serviced 2 days ago.
Yeah. And it didn't even smell. And it's August. So by all rights and intentions, all the privies should smell the same at this point.
Yeah. New Jerseys are actually very well maintained. Every week, there's always at least 1 or 2, maybe even 3 privies that get maintained. And then on top of it, the same guy that does the privies, and there's actually another guy that usually assists him. It's a 2-person job,
Mm.
which I don't want. But they also go out and do a lot of the tree cutting up. So any of the blowdowns, they've been out for a couple days now, just doing nothing but blowdowns that I've been reporting up here in the northern end, as we call it. He also does the water jugs at Mashipacon Shelter, which he does not have to do. That's totally, completely voluntary. But since there's no water at that shelter and nothing close by, he provides the water there.
That's trail magic. So do you also get to educate people? I know that leave no trace education is something.
It's a big thing. Yes, with
that
us.
you do.
That is our yeah, so we do educating. I think our biggest location that we do that at is up there at Backpacker Campsite. We get a lot of, and I mean a lot of day hikers that come through there. They come up to Sunfish Pond. They think they can take a swim, but they cannot. So we do politely ask them to remove their bodies out of the pond. A lot of times they try to camp around there too. But there's always a lot of trash up there. People just, even though we educate, you still get the people that have, and it's not that I don't think they don't realize what they're doing. Because a lot of times it's like a lot of orange peels or any type of fruit
that they think is going to decompose.
And honestly, it does take a whole while for it to decompose. So they think that they're there to feed the wild, and honestly, you don't want to feed the wild because all it's going to do is it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Not to just hikers, but camping areas, that it brings the bears in or any other animal. We have a porcupine up there that's likes to eat the North Privy that we've been dealing with for many years now.
That's at the Backpacker Campsite,
yes.
which is closest to the Mohican Center.
Well,
right?
It's about 6 miles from Mohican Outdoor Center, or from Delaware Water Gap, it's about 3.5 miles in.
Yep.
It's a big area. There's actually, we call it 3 tiers. Most people think that when they come into it, they're actually only at the first tier, but it actually keeps, if you go down the Douglas Trail a little bit that runs right next to it, there's actually more. There's a second bear box, a second privy, which is the South Privy, which is the beautiful one. Yeah, that one's very nice. The porcupine has not met that one yet. Yeah, really. Thank gosh. But that's the newer one. That's the South Privy. Yes. Yep. As the more down you go into the tiers, there's less rocks because we do stay up all different hours of the night. We are on the clock with DEP. If they get a call in and they need to contact us, they will call us and say, hey, we got a missing person. This is their location. We know that you guys are up there. Can you please go out and try to assist the person while we gather our rescue crew around? You can be there quicker than we can. So we go out and we do some rescues at times. And up there, it is very limited cell phone service if you're not at the campsite itself. So usually we kind of figure out, we have a pretty good idea where these people are at because there's only 2, maybe 3 locations that you can get cell phone service up there, up by the pond. So we kind of know exactly where to go to retrieve them. But we get a lot of big groups, whether it's college groups, there are summer camps that come, Boy Scout groups in the fall, we get them more then. But we teach them, we usually go to each group, we teach them leave no trace about how to use the bear boxes, what goes in the bear boxes, because it's amazing how many people honestly really don't know. And it's not that we're not judging, we're just educating. Right. So that everybody is all on the same page and everybody has a good time. Awesome. What are some of the other job duties that you have? Maybe things that people aren't realizing is something that you guys do. Just a lot of trash pickup. I think just in a week's time, on average, I pick up probably about between a 13-gallon bag up to one of the big compactor trash bags that we get. But it's just amazing because a lot of people don't realize that, yes, there's a bear box, but a lot of times they leave their trash in the bear box. And it's no, what you pack in, you pack out. Right. So they don't realize that. But there's there's other items we've found in the bear box, or we come into shelters at times, and there sometimes are some squatters that we get, or we don't might necessarily find them, but we might find their gear, and unfortunately we have to remove it. But we do take it down to the headquarters, depending on which state park, because there's Wawayanda, there is High Point State Park, Stokes State Park, Worthington State Forest, and then there's national parklands that we go through also. So otherwise, I mean, that's our biggest thing, is educating with Leave No Trace, sweeping out the privy and the shelters, and picking up trash and doing trimming back on the trail. That's basically our things, along with counting hikers. As everybody goes past, we count, whether they're a day hiker, backpacker / section hiker, or through hiker, or trail runners. There's also some spots where you can do some climbing, and then there's bird watchers, and then there's groups. So like, we have a report that we do daily, and we mark it all down. And it's not that we're trying to be nosy, and be like, hey, who are you? And blah, blah, blah. And where are you from? But it's kind of a nice conversation with someone as you're out there trying to get to know them. But also, basically, we're just trying to find out what your purpose is.
Well, and the more people there are, the more impact to the trail there is.
Yes. Right now, you can definitely tell that like through hiking season has come through on the northbounders, because the trail definitely has worn down a little bit more compared to the beginning of the season, which our season runs from Memorial Day to Labor Day, at least here in New Jersey. Every area is a little different. Like New Jersey, like I said, we are run a little bit different. Some people have, like Pennsylvania, they have certain sections that they are in control of, and that's it. They don't go through the whole state of Pennsylvania, where us 3 Ridgerunners here in New Jersey are every week we rotate. So one of us is in the north, one's in the south, which is there's 7 shelters, and we kind of split it in between. But we have a schedule literally that our boss has made up, so we know where to go. And then the other person's at backpacker, and then we just keep rotating. So it's nice because it's not the same thing all the time.
What do you most like about your job?
Talking. I love talking to people. I like educating, and some people, honestly, like they already know what they're doing, but just getting to know everybody, to see where they're from. Like this year, we had so many through hikers from Germany. I could not believe how many we had. And
Germany.
Some of them knew some English, some did not. So sometimes there's a language barrier. But I mean, you kind of go, like, if you're looking through your gear or something, you can kind of relate things to it, and then they pick up on what's going on and stuff.
And you also said that you had a little bonus to being a Ridgerunner this year, something that happened to your body as you went through this season.
Oh. Yes. So I don't know. I've lost some weight.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. In the beginning, obviously, I didn't see no changes. I didn't feel no changes. Let's put it that way. But apparently, as women, you gain more muscle during that time frame before you start losing weight. So yeah, I ended up, I'm down 24 pounds since I started through the season.
So this is a more physical job, obviously.
It's definitely more physical, yeah.
What kind of background do you come from, what you did before you started this?
I worked at Cheetah Chassis. I got laid off back in November of last year. And during the meantime, of course, when you're laid off and you're on unemployment, you have to apply for 2 jobs. And I refused to apply for jobs that I didn't want. So I applied. I happened to, in January 27th, I had applied for the ATC ridge running position. In the questionnaire, there's like 10 questions. It'll ask you like about if you belong to any trail clubs. What's are you a through hiker, section hiker, whatever. Like they want to know some input before they actually do any interviewing to see if you're like kind of a candidate. How many miles you hike in a day, that sort of thing. And I had applied. I really honestly did not think I would even get chosen, but I did. I got a call in March which was actually when I had gotten called back to Cheetah. So at that point, I'm going, do I continue on staying at my job or do I go through the process of interviewing? So I actually chose to go through the interviewing along with staying at my job.
So now, what's your least favorite thing about this job?
I actually don't really have a least favorite.
So it's all good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, I guess the least favorite, if you would say, is the hardest part is being away from family.
Okay.
Otherwise, actually, as the job consists, there isn't really no least favorite. I actually enjoy it.
So you've enjoyed what you've done so
I'm
far.
glad I got this experience, got to
That's awesome.
do it, even if I don't do it anymore, because who knows what's going to happen here in the future. But I got to do it, and I'm a type of person that I'm very committed. So especially that it's something along with the trail, like
Yeah.
I got to be out here and experience everything. And I have basically a week and a half left until the season's over. So it's going to be a weird kind of change, considering I'm going from doing all this sort of thing into my own hike. And it's just going to be a complete mind different.
Well, thank you so much for being
Absolutely.
willing to share your story.
Yes, thank
And you invited me to come camp with you.
you. I did.
You didn't think I was going to take you up on it. It's been
Yeah.
great. It's great seeing you and talking to you. And just, when you talk to other hikers and other, I think a YouTuber named Taylor, the New Hampshire hiker, referred to herself as an AT super fan. And I was like, that's me too. But when you get to hang out with other AT super fans, it's all good. So
Yep.
thank you and best wishes to you on finishing the trail this year.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.